No counting, no counting, just straight in. Hello guys, welcome to the channel. So the first Talking Star Wars live stream. Pleased to welcome Tim from Bossk Bounty and Only One Kenobi. How are you guys doing?
Hello there.
All good stuff. We are waiting for BOE. He'll be here shortly. He's gone to a party.
Hi.
Yeah. Boba Hicks in the channel. How you doing in the chat? Thank you very much, mate. How you doing? Okay, so basically, you've got the 3 Star Wars trilogies, and what I'm interested to know is your headcanon. How would you do things differently? So Trenton Dodson, hello, mate. How you doing? So yeah, how would you do things differently? Would you keep things as they are, or would you keep the original trilogy as it is and use that as a foundation to work off, then go back and change the prequels and the sequels? So that's the topic of conversation. We've got Feel the Force in the channel. Roland, is that Floyd? I can't see. I haven't got my glasses on.
Rolando.
Terrible.
Yeah, good.
Rolando, that's it. Sorry, and Brett on Fet. Oh, here's BOE. Here he is. Hello, sir. He's had a haircut as well.
Hi.
Oh. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Right.
Hi. I got a stomach ache now.
Have you? Too much chili and ice cream.
Yeah.
Too much
fizzy pop and crisps.
Yeah, very expensive fizzy pop and crisp. Yeah.
Awesome.
Can I just say one thing? Happy birthday, Richard. He's
Richard.
A young man. He's just turned 50. Happy birthday.
Many happy returns.
Yeah. Also got Gerald Coyle in.
What did you have at the curry house, BOE?
Coyle.
What did I have? Lamb, Rogan Josh.
Oh, nice.
It's quite a posh one. It was down in Paddington. It was a really posh restaurant. So I didn't have any cash on me, so I owe my mate 40 quid. So yeah.
You spent 40 quid on food?
Yeah, it was a blooming expensive restaurant.
Got to have a few kingfishers, haven't you, BOE?
I could only afford one. It was about 8 quid a pint.
God.
Wow. Okay, so BOE, as you just joined us, so what we're going to be doing is discussing the Star Wars trilogy or the sequel, the 3 trilogies. Yeah. So I want to know your headcanon. So basically, what's going to happen is, I've got some echo there. Who's echoing?
Well, it's not me. It wasn't me. It was me.
So would you keep the films as they are, or would you change them? And I want to know your headcanon. So who wants to go first on the original trilogy? Who's going to kick it off? Oh, don't everybody answer. Bloody hell.
Nick, you go for it, mate. Go on.
Think about the original trilogy. It's funny what George said about what he thought Star Wars, and I think we've all known this anyway because of the fact he did the special edition. But he said, didn't he, on that new Light and Magic? He said, "I could just see the gaffer tape." I mean, this is not answering your question. This is like I'm just saying about what would we change. I wouldn't personally change anything about the original trilogy, really. I haven't really, honestly, Stuart, had a good chance to think about this topic. I was going to just sort of see how we felt as we discussed it, but he would. Fine. My point is, he would, wouldn't he? Obviously, and he did unnecessarily, really. But but he made it, and he could see all those imperfections. And sad, really, because the original was just brilliant.
So the original trilogy, then, I mean, I know they did this the special edition ones, and I think there's a few changes they made, I think, which did add to it. But then I think the majority of it, I don't think added at all. I just think it was didn't look right.
Well, I think it was just the bits that he felt that he couldn't make with the technology that he had back then. Yeah. He tried to do when he thought he had. Yeah, when he thought he had that technology, but like if you look at the Jabba the Hutt scene, for example, the technology clearly wasn't there when they attempted it either. I think probably needs to wait another 10 years because it looked pretty awful, didn't it? So in terms of the special editions, they're the ones that I'd probably watch the most often because they're the ones that I've got in the highest quality. Although I did download the
despecialized.
Who made it? Is it 77 4K or 4K 77? I think it's called.
Yeah,
and that is like the best quality version you will get of the original, if you like. But I tend to just stick on Disney Plus, which is the special editions, isn't it? So
Yeah.
in terms of like the releases, that, you know, of course I'd get rid of all of that and just take it back to the originals. But in terms of the story, I think it's pretty much perfect, really. I wouldn't want to change any of it, really.
Yeah, the story, yeah. It's funny when you say as well, Stuart, about headcanon, and I haven't thought about this for a long time, but I could easily carve out my best or perfect version of A New Hope by... Actually, I would take a few of those special edition shots, like the shot when the X-Wings, are the panning shot with the X-Wings towards the Death Star. I would actually keep that in a definitive version to make an ultimate mashup of the best of the best, you know? So, but there's lots of things I wouldn't put in. Like I've never understood the change of the Obi-Wan call and, you know, additions of rocks and stuff covering R2. Never understood. And of course, you know, Greedo and all that crap. Never made sense, those decisions.
No. What about the scene when they're going to Mos Eisley and they've enlarged that? Would you keep that
with the droid?
Doesn't look good.
Yeah,
terrible.
No, I mean, on that, as they go on the land speeder down the main road, you can see stormtroopers have just been mirrored. The image is the same. Stormtroopers just been mirrored on each side.
And then the dinosaur that kind of
looks
all
fake,
the action,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's the point of that
camera
dinosaur
goes through his legs? It doesn't look
Ronto.
The Ronto,
yeah.
I quite like that species, the Ronto, but that stupid leg that gets in the way of what.
I think Lucasfilm at the time had just done Jurassic Park, so they knew they could do dinosaurs as well. So George Lucas must have been a bit enamored by that. I'll put some dinosaurs into my movie. I mean, at the time, you know,
Steven will see him do dinosaurs better.
At the time, George Lucas in '77 said, you know, he got about 60% of what he wanted in that movie. So, you know, but it was still that 60% is brilliant. It was a game changer. I mean, you know, as it is, it's perfect. But he still had to decide to go and tinker with it. I mean, if there was ever going to be parts added to it, the things I do. I mean, if it'd be called a fan edit or stuff like that with Luke at Toshi Station and Luke fixing the moisture vapor evaporator, just to see those scenes into the movie, especially with Biggs as well. But
it would have been Star Wars graffiti then, wouldn't it? Or Star Graffiti Wars.
Yeah. But I mean, he took those scenes out because you know, I guess they were dragging a bit. So, you know.
What about
there's some bits of the special edition. There's some bits of the special edition that, like, he's changed where I don't really understand why the change was, and he could have filmed it like that in the first place. For example, the Darth Vader no thing at the end of Return of the Jedi. Why do that? You could have done that when you first filmed it.
I think he was trolling everybody by then.
What was the feeling? I know he obviously said that line in Revenge of the Sith, didn't he? When he first gets changed into Vader. But I don't know. It for me it ruins that scene a little bit because
it does.
The sort of silence of it. You don't need to know that he's saying that because you can tell, even though he's got a mask on, you can almost feel the expression just by looking at it. Do you know what I mean? It's like
it was a more powerful scene when he didn't say anything, wasn't it?
Yeah,
definitely. So what about the Empire then? There's things in the Empire Strikes Back that they added and stuff like that. I know they cleaned like a few bits up with the cockpit of the snowspeeder because when they first did it, you could actually see through the cockpit because it was quite transparent. But they cleaned all that up, so that wasn't too bad. But there was other bits as well, wasn't there? So
I think the worst bit on Empire is the shuttle when Vader calls for the shuttle, and you can tell that those scenes have been culled from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, you know,
let my star destroy. You mean that one?
Yeah.
It was so much better than bring my shuttle. He was just pissed off, wasn't he? Storming away.
And I think with that, it was another director, it was Irvin Kershner. So that is his movie more. That's why most people love Empire Strikes Back more, because Irvin Kershner got more of a sort of character-driven performance out of the main characters, and you know, that was his focus, and that's why Empire is so popular. So
what about keeping the Empire as he was? What about the Emperor? What about the Emperor when they've put the CGI Emperor in there? Or
well, the dialogue, I
can't
stand that, and I thought that was needless. I was just going to bring that up.
Oh, really?
I thought that was needless. The dialogue change. They didn't have to have that thing of "I have no doubt this young boy is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker." The way it was we have a new enemy, Luke Skywalker. It could have been that's the first time the Emperor has said to Vader about it, the boy, and that's the first time you should feel that tension between the three of them, or the two of them, because it's that whole scenario of don't forget, subtle, don't forget. There's only two of us, you know what I mean? That could have been going on. As opposed to
you'd have kept the Emperor as the updated version of him, but you'd have kept the dialogue the same as the original.
Dialogue the same. I thought it was just. I hated that when I first saw that dialogue change. I thought it was awful.
Wasn't the original Emperor from Empire Strikes Back played by a woman as well, with loads of makeup on?
The baboon face.
Was it a baboon? Yeah, chimpanzee eyes projected over.
But it was a woman, wasn't it, underneath?
I mean, there is an edit online where somebody has done an even better looking Emperor, actually, because I thought the Emperor, he looked really puffy and weird, and like someone's done a kind of an edit where they've used how he looked in Jedi, and then they've done the dialogue so it's as it was in 1980. But I don't know, man. They've changed it.
So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, a lot of people. I was having a discussion with Daniel Chart about this. A lot of people think that that's the first time. I think this is nonsense. People think that that's the first time that Vader was made aware that that's his son, and I don't believe that, because he says in Hoth, he says that is the system, and I'm sure Skywalker is with them. So he's not daft, is he? He would have known about the fact. That's why he's pursuing him. He wants to find him,
Yeah.
He's daft, not daft.
You're sort of expected to think that the name Skywalker is like Smith in Star Wars, and there's loads of them. Do you know what I mean? Because Anakin Skywalker in the Darth Vader costume is saying, "I'm sure that's Skywalker." Hang on a minute. What's going on here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because he knew Padme was pregnant, didn't he? So it's not like, as far as he was aware, she died and the baby died, but or was he? Yeah. Did he know that the baby died? Obviously, he must have done that. What about Jedi?
Things will be. That's the thing. In that whole period of Vader's life, things will start to then be coming into place, pieces of the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
And that's why he turns ultimately, isn't it?
And what about Jedi? What would you change about Jedi? Would you
go back to the original song, Lapti?
Yeah. What, in Jabba's palace?
Yeah,
that was
song.
Ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
And with the Empire, I want to say one thing about Empire. On Bespin, they changed a lot of the elements of Bespin as well. They added a lot of CGI and stuff to open it up a bit. So
I quite like that. The elevators or lifts going up, that kind of thing. That's say the equivalent for me of like the X-wing pass. I quite like that, but I didn't mind the seeing out on Bespin. But you still can't beat the original. Didn't need to do it, did they?
No.
I think this is the biggest one. Gary Moore, original Force Ghost for Anakin.
Definitely. I forgot all about that. Well done, Gary. I forgot all about that.
Plus the end song for the Jedi as well. Yeah.
I like Hayden a lot. But,
it doesn't.
It's people justify it online, and I still don't understand. That was another one I don't get, because he died as an old man. He redeemed as an old man. His ghost should be an old man. You know what I mean? Never understood why he would become the young one again. Crazy.
Definitely.
Because Luke would have never seen him like that either. Like,
who's this guy?
Yeah, Tim. Absolutely.
True. So, what was your feelings then? Because I missed the original films when I was younger. I mean, I think Return of the Jedi was the first one I saw the pictures at the time. So I missed out on Star Wars and Empire because I was too young. So, what were your feelings when you come out? I mean, I'm assuming you guys went to the pictures, the big screen to see the films. What was your initial reaction? First,
BOE was 18.
Like excitement. So,
BOE was 18 in 77, so he's probably got a really good idea of what yeah, I'm only joking. God bless you. God bless you.
Are you talking about the special editions now, Stu? Or
the special editions, yeah, because
right.
the special editions. Because I mean, I missed out on all that. You know,
I'm the same as you in that I only saw Return of the Jedi when because I was like 6 when Return of the Jedi came out.
Yeah,
6 or 7. And so I saw the other two. I did see them before Return, but Return was the first one I saw in the cinema. When I went to see Star Wars on the big screen for the first ever time when the special editions came out, I was amazed by it because even in my little town, where I'm from, you know, it got a standing ovation, man. Like it's just it's that everyone that was in that cinema, because we saw it on opening night, everyone that was in that cinema was there because they love it. They're hardcore. They just can't wait to see it. And it's the only film I've been to ever and since that has got everyone just got up and just clapped.
Wow.
And that's a special edition.
Yeah, because it was like I guess a lot of people were the same as me. They'd never maybe seen that on the big screen, and I was, I'm not going to. I was a bit shocked that it did that, but I was feeling that inside as well. You know, when it ends, you're like, and the music comes in, you're like, wow, that was flipping awesome. Do you know what I mean? And
the
everyone just got up and clapped like that.
I love the special edition when it came out, Stuart. What I didn't like was the year 2004 when I thought, well, they're going to go back to normality now or have like a choice of variants we could look at. But that was the point when I realized the special edition was now the film forever. You know what I mean? And then they kept doing subsequent changes. So the first like special edition was like a novelty to see all this new stuff. Like, whoa, look what they've done! Yay!
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I quite like that. And plus, there were loads of documentaries at the time where, like, George was actually talking. He had like a statue of Vader behind him, and he was doing lots of interviews, telling you about what they'd done and cleaning up the film and why they put Jabba in it. But you see, that's the thing. Jabba, I don't think he should have then been cut out because that's like almost like a deleted scene. It does not work.
Yeah. I mean, that scene, I kind of that ruined it for me. Well, not ruined it. I just looked at. I remember seeing it, and when Han went over his tail, I just thought, why? Why did they do that? And I felt the same when they did.
I didn't mind that though, Stuart, because I'd seen on the documentary that explained why they did that because they had to physically shift him. So I thought, it was pretty nifty, you know.
Yeah,
anyway.
But I think at the time when it came out, you know, we weren't used to some of the really, really good special effects that we've got now. So I think me seeing some of the effects like the Jabba scene, mentally I probably would have thought, that didn't look too great, or you know, they could have got that a bit better. But it's a bit similar to like how Luke was in The Mandalorian now, you know, with the deep fake thing. They've improved him in Book of Boba Fett, but in the Mandalorian, and the same as Tarkin in Rogue One, you're like, wow, that's good, but there's just something, you know, not quite right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Do you think they'll go back and do them? Because I hope they do. I hope they do redo them. Rogue One 2.0 kind of thing, you know, and sort out Luke and Mando 2 as well. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about where they go back and revisit Rogue One, and because they did Carrie Fisher as well, didn't they? They de-aged her, and then they put a face on an actress. But yeah, no, I think they've got the technology to do that now. So I think they should.
I loved Rogue One, but sorry, Stuart, I'm sorry, man.
No, it's okay.
Over you.
Right over you.
I loved Rogue One, and I even loved Tarkin. Although, like you just said, Tim, there's a few bits. It was like they lost it. It's like, that was good. Like almost like they should have just cut his screen time a little bit. But I thought Leia did not work for me. I thought, no way. That I don't think the execution was as good as Tarkin really for her. But then you look at those versions on YouTube by that guy who now is employed by Lucasfilm, and he nailed it, man. It was way better.
Yeah,
way better.
Good job. So what about the prequels then? What would your headcanon be for the prequels? Who wants to go first on this one?
Well, you're right about one thing.
I'm just going to begin on this because me and Nick have talked about this before.
Okay.
And it was when Obi-Wan was announced and the first poster came out for it, and I messaged Nick and I said, how are we supposed to believe that this guy in 10 years becomes, or 9 years becomes Alec Guinness? Like, and it's not the fault of the prequels, is it? It's not the fault of Obi-Wan or whatever the series. It's the fault of starting the prequels with Anakin too young, isn't it?
Yeah,
they should have bumped it forward and started him off as like a teenager. Do you know what I mean? And had Obi-Wan, although don't get me wrong, he was brilliant in it, and you look at it now and he looks really young. I don't know if you've seen that documentary on Obi-Wan that's on Disney Plus at the moment, but Ewan McGregor looks really young in the first one.
Yeah.
So,
on already, Tim. Sorry, is that on Disney Plus, that documentary? Damn it, man.
Yeah. It's like the making of Obi-Wan. Yeah.
Oh, how long has it been on?
If you were to bung it forward, maybe Ewan McGregor wouldn't have been the right actor to play him, because you would have wanted a slightly older Obi-Wan. Yeah. But that's the thing. That's the thing for me. It's that it kind of shifts everything out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say a lot of episode 1 is unnecessary. I mean, that's the film I went to see on the first night it came out in the UK, and it was just so you wanted to like it, but you just left feeling, what the hell did I just watch? And it's, you see it in the making of episode 1 when they're trying to get the film finished, and George Lucas has a huge screening with all the crew there, and they're like all pretty quiet, thinking. Whereas and George Lucas is saying it's he's been experimental and all that sort of stuff, and but it's just such a because it's so much about politics and boring stuff really, and Jar Jar just doesn't work at all. I mean, I guess Jar Jar's got a bit more love these days, but that's because of the sequels. But it's still
brilliant.
Oops, I nearly got my mic down. But I mean, it should have started like Tim said with Anakin at maybe 18, 19, sort of, and the film should have the three movies should have just focused on him becoming Darth Vader by the second movie, and the third one, Vader Unleashed.
Yeah,
definitely. I think a lot of people were expecting that, weren't they? When they heard the prequels are coming, they thought, we're going to see the origins of Vader here. We're going to see at least one movie with Vader kicking ass. You know what I mean? And we never got it, did we? We just saw this sort of petulant kid all the way through it that basically turns at the very end of the film. And you see him standing there on the bridge looking absolutely awesome, and you're like, man, like,
that's why I left Attack of the Clones disappointed. I thought I was going to see way more darkness other than the Tusken Raider scene. But I was going to say, Stu, I saw Phantom Menace when I was 18, so I was still a kid, and I didn't find it as I mean, it's funny listening to BOE's reaction, and then BOE's in the same kind of category as all these people who did the Phantom Menace. What's it called now? The people against George Lucas. All those people clearly hated it, didn't they? And I didn't hate it, even though the internet hadn't really kicked in at that stage, had it? When everyone can really express and spread and bitch. But it was the second one I had issues with. Attack of the Clones, really. Way too digital.
Definitely. We get that one in a second. But the first one for me, I think, was too slow paced. I mean, yes, you had the pod racer, and then you had Darth Maul, and I thought, he was a cool character, and they should have kept him and carried him on over into the second movie. But it was too much. It's too much politics in it and stuff like that for my liking. And when you come out of seeing the original trilogy, it's quite fast paced. There's a lot of action and stuff like that, and that's what I was expecting for the first one. And then you go back into it, and it's all like, I mean, who's going to get excited about people watching senators discuss politics and stuff like that? I mean, it's. It's
that's what they say about The Force Awakens. It's anti-Phantom Menace and all that lot, isn't it? I don't know if you've seen that documentary. It's really good. The anti-trilogy is brilliant. He was just trying to
sort of
counter
gone like
that.
this, like over the years. I've gone like, sometimes I think to myself, like, they were made for a different audience. And even like you, Nick, when I first saw the Phantom Menace, it didn't it didn't sort of go, that's it. This, you ruined my childhood or whatever. I actually quite enjoyed it. But then, as I say, as time goes on, you sort of fall out of love with them, and then you like them again and whatever. But the thing that I didn't like about the Attack of the Clones was the CGI, just the whole film being almost CGI, and it looked very, very cartoonish. And again, it didn't explore what I wanted it to explore. I wanted to see the Clone Wars, like the proper Clone Wars, and you see a bit of it start, and then you see a little bit at the beginning of Sith. Yeah. But you don't really see, you see at the beginning of Sith, you see Anakin with his scar. I want to see all those battles. That's what I wanted to see. But you don't, it's just sort of they talk about it. But obviously, then we also
had
have
an animated series, the Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars animated series. So you can't moan too much because that was awesome.
Yeah.
So
and
that filled it all in. But
gotta be patient.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm with BOE with Jar Jar. I thought he was an unnecessary character. Now, nothing against the actor who played him. I mean, it wasn't his fault. It's just how it was written and stuff like that, and how he was directed. But he wasn't the best, was he? I mean, come on. I mean, I don't think the film would have missed it if he wouldn't have been in it. If I'm honest.
If I was older than I was it 18? I probably
you could have played.
I would have cringed a bit more about that, but
yeah.
We were also caught up in this whole CGI revolution anyway, that you're probably just more interested in looking at that and thinking, wow, that's a step up.
There was that, definitely.
Same with Watto as well. Watto's the same thing, isn't he? Although he was a bit more of an interesting character, but again, he's 100% CGI and expression and stuff,
Yeah.
And the sort of over-the-top characterization, like Watto's playing this sort of Shylock character. You want to buy us, only money. And then Jar Jar... Misa Jar Jar, it's all that sort of exaggerated character, and then
global things to me,
and then Trade Federation,
ridiculous,
and their sort of Japanese sort of sounding voices, it's all over characterization, and I think George Lucas, because he was directing, and he didn't have a Gary Kurtz around. That was the problem. He didn't have someone to say, "Are you sure you really want to do this?"
Yeah.
Even the dialogue. Do you remember the Trade Federation? They had all those lines that were, they've all lines that have been said before, like they're still coming through. This is impossible. Like that guy he says that this is impossible. I'm sure he says that in the Battle of Endor. And then they're coming through. Princess Leia says that. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? It's just stupid. Kind of like.
See, I'd never picked up on that. I hadn't noticed that until you just said now. So
straight away, I was like, why are they doing that?
I think George Lucas has seen it as sort of poetry and haikus, and like transferring it from one movie to the other to have that sort of symmetry and stuff like that.
Well, usually they just do that with that other. What's that other line?
Obi-Wan series.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
But they did it with the Stormtrooper banging his head.
Bad feeling about this.
There's that. And then the Stormtrooper banged his head, didn't he, as he come through the door?
Oh, Django did that.
And then Django did it as he's getting into his Slave One, his ship. But
just going back to the age thing that... Oh, sorry, Stu, sorry.
No, go on, please.
I was just going to say, going back to the age thing that Tim and I have discussed, like, it's ridiculous that's all George Lucas's fault, because they were trying to make out that he was probably about 20 or 25, wasn't it? Obi-Wan. But really, he was about 29 going on 30, Ewan. So they could have pretended he was a 30-year-old Jedi. I know he was a Padawan, but, it might be such a complex thing becoming a Jedi that it takes 30 years to achieve that level. So that would have put him at 40 at Attack of the Clones, which is good. Then about 43. So that would make him 63.
Yeah.
Which would have been better. But George wrote it, so he was younger than that, like 20. So which made him 30 Attack of the Clones. That was like 50, like early 50s for Alec Guinness. That's ridiculous. He does not look that, does he?
No.
I mean, we can all agree. Even you, Tim, have said that you think he would be even older than 60, like maybe 70.
Well,
probably, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I don't think Alec Guinness's age is at the time that he was filming it is relevant. I think the character that they're trying to portray is that he is this like old, wise, like monk type guy. Do you know what I mean? And there was a lot of sort of mystery around him. I mean, obviously it gets explained as the films go on of who he is and the battles he'd been in and what have you. But, when Luke first sees him and he's rescued by him from the Tuscans, You know, he's definitely this sort of like,
absolutely,
as he calls him an old hermit, doesn't he? That's what he is.
Crazy old hermit.
Crazy old man and all that.
Yeah. And to me, he's just this like old geezer in the desert that's just sort of like been on his own for a long time and has gone a bit, you know,
loopy.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Yeah, exactly. You're supposed to believe that he's like, I would say in his like early 70s, for example.
I mean, it would be something I would ask George Lucas, not in a nasty way, but I'd obviously talk to him about all sorts. But if I could get a one-to-one with him, I'd just ask him about that. You know, what was your thinking there, and why did you do that? Because it doesn't marry up with what we see. Oh, I don't know, man. It does not work, does it? It doesn't marry up, and that was his choice. That was his.
I think
decision.
a lot of with all the changes that George Lucas did with the special editions stem from him raising a family himself and becoming a sort of, in a way, a mother and father to his children, and sort of approaching the Greedo Han shot first scene and thinking, do I want my children to think Han's this sort of cutthroat geezer that just shoots, straight away? And that sort of affected George Lucas, he sort of, because he had to raise his children himself, and he sort of became a parent, and that sort of took up all his time when he should have been making Star Wars movies. He was being a parent, and that sort of that sort of way of thinking went into the special editions and then into the prequels. That sort of,
Do you think George Lucas would have regretted making some of those decisions for the Star Wars special editions?
I think so.
Do you think
maybe. I mean, I think he won't admit that he made mistakes.
Oh, yeah, he seems that type who wouldn't.
Privately, he may think, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Do you know what I mean? But
because I heard that he said that he went maybe a bit too OTT with Jar Jar in the Phantom Menace.
Just very quickly, Stuart, didn't he have a T-shirt on saying "hand shot first," or was that somebody who'd done that with Photoshop or something? I'm sure he did. Maybe it's just
really, I don't know.
There is
possibly, but
yeah.
I see. I don't agree with that. I think it should have been. They should have kept that scene as it was. Han shot first, because he was a scoundrel. He was a rogue, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? So he would have been that kind of. Yeah, I mean, look. I mean, he's changed it, but then look what he did in Solo, where he shot Tobias Beckett.
Yeah.
It's
Tobias
the same.
Tobias Beckett has pretty much taught him that trust nobody, or that move first,
exactly.
Have the first.
That was a good scene. Hope you're still paying attention, because I'm about to you should shoot.
Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, why have him do that in that film, but then change it in stuff?
Well, that's not George, though, is he? You've got to forget. We've got to remember that. That ain't George. That's someone who's a fanboy appealing to the other fanboys, isn't it? Whoever allowed that, they're probably thinking, right, let's just do this for subtleness, and for us.
But as a kid, I never thought Han Solo was some like cut just because he shot first, that he was some cutthroat like assassin or something. Like it just made his character cool. Do you know what I mean?
He had a gun pointed at him. He was looking after himself. It's ridiculous.
It's a space western, isn't it? That's what happens in the Wild West, So it's a space western. So I don't see why he's changed that, if I'm honest. But so with regards to the Phantom Menace, then would you have kept Jar Jar Binks in it? Would you have kept Darth Maul alive and had him go over to the Attack of the Clones?
I personally wanted to see more of Maul. Sorry, BOE. I personally hope, Maul was awesome. And I'll tell you what, one of the best scenes in that film for me is when he says, "Anakin, get down," like that. And he jumps off the bike. And the shot of that and the sound, that is Star Wars. That is, you've got that absolutely perfect. You can see them all fighting in the distance. Yeah. And Maul was a proper Star Wars baddie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was.
Perfect. And I would prefer to have seen him some more, basically. And obviously, we get to see him in the animated shows, and they've got him in Solo.
Well, that's the thing. Stuart just said, "Would you have kept him alive?" But then again, he is alive. Well, supposedly, he was alive, which is nonsense,
Solo,
isn't it? That's ridiculous. Yeah. To survive that is just ridiculous.
Well, exactly. And what about Jar Jar? Would you have kept him, or would you have just not bothered with him at all?
Well, we see the results in episode 2 because Jar Jar's role is just drastically cut. Even though there's a scene, they talk about this in the DVD, The People versus George Lucas, that there's a scene at the start when Obi-Wan and Anakin go into the chambers of Padme, and Jar Jar's there, and he doesn't say much, but he looks into the camera like, "I'm still there." Yeah.
That's what you go. That was George. That was George doing an FU to the audience. That's what they was really ranting about it.
So what about Attack of the Clones then? What would you have liked to have seen or changed in that movie? I know one scene that I would have taken out or not added at all that wound the shit out of me, and that was the droid factory scene with 3PO flying about. I absolutely.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. That disappointed me. That was like, wow. So what about you guys?
Well,
just Dexter's diner. See you later.
Yeah. Oh, I don't mind. It was a bit. Tim. It was.
Oh, yeah. Go on, Tim.
Well, it's just like the droid on the roller skates. What is it, a 50s diner or something? It's just like you stop trying to sort of pull the real world in too much. Like, we know this is a real place. Within the context of the film, it's supposed to be a real place with real people and whatever. But you don't have to sort of make it look like somewhere on Earth. You don't have to do that. And I know there's other, Coruscant's very like a metropolis city or whatever. But that particular scene, it's and you've got this dirty old chef guy, and it's just. It's just
that's the thing, Tim. When Red Letter Media were talking about The Last Jedi, and then they were talking about the casino, and then I think it's Jay who says, "Oh, the casino scene where I was getting prequel flashbacks," and I thought, I wonder which bit of the prequels, but it's probably that specific bit because it's way too like Earth, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like bad parallel. That's probably the one he had in his head when he made that statement.
Yeah, that would go straight for me. That.
Yeah. So what about you, BOE?
I remember going to see it and coming out of the cinema. I felt much more happier with that film than episode 1. So
really,
wow,
yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of CGI though. There is a lot of CGI, and there are some scenes with the CGI, like when Obi-Wan's on the Geonosis, and it's a bit hard to tell if he's on Geonosis because some of the Tatooine scenes and Geonosis, the visuals look quite similar. So needs to be a bit more distinction there. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit plodding. It could be a bit more exciting, a bit more, it's that episode is set out as a mystery. Like, you got Obi-Wan looking with the Camino dart, trying to find out who's behind what's going on the cloning facility, and who's this Darth Sidious and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of a mystery. And you've got then on the other side, you've got the love story between Anakin and Padme, and some of that is a bit trite, really. So
it messed with all of that BOE messed with my head when I thought about it, because I went to see it a couple of times. We got a free ticket to go and see it again, actually, because somebody had left a light on in the cinema, and we complained because it kind of spoiled it. At the front, the light was on, the main lights almost, so we got free tickets to see it again. But I remember leaning in specifically to certain dialogue scenes to see if I could get my head around what was happening. And the one scene I listened into was the scene when Django talks to Obi-Wan in his room. I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe. He tells him quite a lot. He says about Tyrannus, and I was like, the bottom line is, right, I could not get my head around the fact that the Jedi followed a senator whose life was in danger. They were trying to assassinate a senator opposing an army. They tracked him to Camino. They found their man. Then they followed him to the bloody droid army place. Could they not see them? This was an orchestrated war, man. That just did not make. But I suppose, I don't know. Do you argue that they were powerless to do anything else other than defend the Republic, so they had to go along with these clones. But I don't know, man. It was right in front of them.
Yeah, it doesn't make the Jedi look good, does it? But with characters like Dooku and Jango Fett, what did you make of those guys?
Well, Dooku was because it's Christopher Lee. He's got gravitas.
Wow.
He's a great actor. He does well in that character. You know, when he's got Obi-Wan suspended with those electric things, and he goes into and sort of says, "There's a conspiracy going on. Join me, Obi-Wan, and we can, unveil the plot." You know, it's
like that scene.
That's a great scene, really. So Dooku's good.
Dooku annoyed me, Stuart, because I loved the Phantom Menace, the fight between Maul and Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan kicked ass.
Yeah.
And then in this, it was almost like watching him fighting a slow-moving old man, even though obviously he did move fast because he had a double. And then he got his ass kicked. I was like, "What are you doing? You know, Obi-Wan, you should have been all over him." That annoyed me, actually. So I used to hate Dooku, but I did not like him. That was like annoyed me about the film. Like, what?
And what about Jango?
Oh, I liked him. I thought he was awesome. Yeah.
Again, you expected a lot from him, and then he didn't really sort of deliver, did he? I didn't think they just killed him off just like that. And I was disappointed with the fact they got rid of him so quick.
But you knew he had that clone. You knew he had Boba Fett. You know what I mean? So
that was for the purposes of Boba's arc, wasn't it?
Again, unnecessary doing that, but it was quite a cool thing visually to see. You know, a blue,
silver,
blue Boba Fett, yeah, and all that.
I mean, and again, with I think, in
charge.
I was just about to say, a lot of people don't like the Jango Fett thing because it sort of demystifies Boba, because obviously, you know, Boba Fett in the originals is just this masked, like, awesome character that doesn't really say a lot. You know he's awesome. You know he's bad. But then, like, the whole clone army are basically Boba Fett's, aren't they? Like, do you know what I mean? They're all it's that sort of thing. It's like you're over sort of using the whole sort of Boba Fett, Jango Fett thing. But I didn't mind it. I thought it is quite an interesting thing. But
I mean, what got me as well was
he was under all those masks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they none of those clone troopers were actually humans in a costume. They were all CGI.
No, they were quite good as well. Yeah.
You like those?
Well, yeah. I mean, that surprised me that I didn't realize they weren't shiny. They'd obviously got some kind of like they refined their finish from say the T1000 days. You know what I mean? Yeah. That kind of surprised me when I found out that they were all CGI. You know what I mean? I thought they looked quite solid.
I think the first bit in the arena's good. But then when the battle goes out and it's all, I mean, it looks great. Don't get me wrong, but it looks like the Clone Wars, like the animated Clone Wars with all the blues and red shots and all the dust. Yeah, and they're just going like this, you know, and it just looks like a CGI cartoon to me. That bit, but when they come down in the gunships, it's that bit looks that bit's cool.
Why did you think they look bad? Did you not like the way they look?
No, I agree with Tim. When they came down first time round, I thought they look good. But when you see Obi-Wan sees them all on Kamino, it did look like something out of like an episode of the Clone Wars, and then again in the battle scene. Yeah, definitely. And the battle droids, I thought they looked great. But oh god, when they started talking, I was like, oh come on, we're not 5 years old here. Do you know what I mean? It's I wasn't happy with how they voiced the battle droids. So,
well, that's Phantom Menace, really. They speak in that, but then, Are you talking about the Clone Wars, Stuart?
No, I'm actually the Phantom
Roger.
They don't really talk in. Yeah, they don't talk in Attack of the Clones. They do in they're very monotone though in Phantom Menace. They're a bit more like robotic. But then this is my interpretation in Revenge of the Sith. Then that's when they have that stupid. Well, what are you doing? Yeah, you know that kind of stupid. Previously, they were like, check it out, Corporal. Roger. You know, more kind of like a Dalek.
Well, yeah.
Then they had that, and then in all the Clone Wars, they've got a stupid voice like.
Yeah, I think in Attack of the Clones, it's the comedic bit with C-3PO, swapping heads and that was. But then, like, like all these Star Wars things, it's like if you talk to people that actually grew up when they were like, I don't know, 7 or 8 when they watched that is their Star Wars.
Yeah.
And they love the prequels, especially Revenge of the Sith. They absolutely, they think Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars film ever made, sort of thing. Whereas, we're a bit older after, we grew up with the originals. So they're trying to make something that's going to appeal to us, but also, drag in a whole generation of new fans, which is kind of like what the sequels are as well, I guess. And also the a lot of the complaints about Obi-Wan series, and the Book of Boba Fett is that it's, sort of kidified a bit, but they have to sort of, drag in the new fans, not just sort of, because we're not going to be around forever, are we? So they need to keep it going. Right?
Yeah. So talking of the Revenge of the Sith, what would you have done to have changed that, or would you have kept that as it is?
No, get rid of that.
Yeah.
I love Revenge of the Sith, man. I think
I like Revenge. That was my favorite of the 3.
It was the strongest of the 3, wasn't it? For sure, definitely.
It did what The Rise of Skywalker didn't. I know we're jumping the gun there, but it kind of like that tied everything up. All the questions and things I had in my head after Attack of the Clones, I thought, right, now I get what you're doing. Thank you, George.
Yeah.
Honestly, I left the cinema and I saw it in Leicester Square as well at a premiere thing there. It was like a media thing. My sister got tickets for it and it was just a brilliant day. It was awesome.
So do you think Anakin was too easily seduced to the dark side, or do you think that was weak, or do you think they could have done a bit of a better job with that?
Well, he was supposed to turn originally at that very beginning bit when he says, "Be careful of the Jedi, Anakin, only through me." But he doesn't, does he? He like pulls his saber out and says, "You're the Sith Lord," and then he goes, "I'll get to the bottom of this." He goes away, doesn't he? Back to Mace Windu. But that wasn't going to happen. He did that because he wanted a bit more length to it and a bit more of a twist on it, as opposed to it just being a straight switch. Which is a good idea. I'm glad he did that.
Yeah, I mean, as good as that film was, it's definitely the strongest out of the 3 sequels. I think I would have preferred it if Anakin would have changed halfway through Episode 2 to Vader, and then Episode 3 would have been like we said before, where he was going around hunting down the Jedi and stuff like that. I think that would have been a far better sort of way of doing things and stuff like that. But we ended up getting what we got.
I mean, the first 20 minutes of that film are flipping awesome. I could put it on now and just think it's the space battle. Yeah. It's like with all the Arc 170s and that, it's so good. And I think it's the shot when it first, I think they're flying and then the camera pans down and you see all the droid control ships and stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, this is, this
Mega.
it was a decent space battle. Yeah.
I thought Hayden Christensen got his act together in that film as well.
Yeah.
He wasn't and whiny. He did a really good job I thought.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget in between that you had the whole of the series of the Clone Wars, didn't you? So he sort of grew up a bit in that. Huh?
Sorry. I thought you were suggesting that the series of Clone Wars was actually out before they did the cartoon thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it was set between Episode 2 and Episode 3. That's what I meant. He kind of grew up in that a bit, didn't he? A bit more experience and stuff like that.
The scar and everything.
Yeah. But how did he get the scar? Because we didn't see how he got the scar, did we? Did we see that in the Clone Wars? I don't think we did.
I mean, if it's going to be in any, it'll be in that Genndy Tartakovsky.
Yeah.
They tried to put everything in that. Yeah.
So is it when he gets that blue stuff on his body? Maybe he gets the scar there.
Maybe.
Possibly. I can't remember. I have to dig out.
Yeah. I can't.
See, I would like to have seen Asajj Ventress as a live character. I think she would have been good in the movies.
Oh yeah,
sure, definitely.
I'd love to see.
I mean, the Clone Wars had some imagine having ARC troopers in a live action. That'd be so cool. I mean,
I'd
love to like they've done with the Bad Batch, where they've got their own show.
Yeah,
like a live action about some clone battalion of ARC troopers or something. I'd go mental over something like that.
That would be good. I would enjoy that. So that's the sequels and the original trilogy. Now let's move on to the sequels. What would you change about that?
Oh Lord!
First,
I wouldn't have made them.
I know, to be honest.
So The Force Awakens was the first one. So let's have your thoughts. Where would you change that?
Oh gosh, cast. A lot of the cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just think, you know, these movies are just trying to shove a message down our throats, which most of us don't want to hear. So, you know, Star Wars is a galaxy far, far away, and we don't want to hear this woke drivel. So, you know, I'm just saying, we've had three movies that are, the stories are inconsistent. They don't tie anything up. You know, the last movie was a sort of hatchet job trying to fix what had been done in the second part or episode 8. You know, it was just quite awful. Quite awful.
So
I really enjoyed The Force Awakens. I really did then, and I loved the lead up to it, and I loved the pit, like the kind of like a golden period afterwards as well. You know, it wasn't perfect. There was a few things I would have changed, and I didn't like in it, like Finn looking up at the sky and seeing the little things like that. But overall, I kind of was really invested in it, and plus you thought, wow, well we've got 2 more now. And then we're going to have a proper thread. That never happened, and that's a great regret.
So what would you have changed about it, Beery? How would you have done it? What would your headcanon have been?
Well, I think George Lucas had some ideas, and Disney just refused to interact with them or engage with his ideas. You know, they just sort of... It was Disney's property now, so they were going to make their own movie. They got J.J. Abrams to work on it, and he just sort of borrowed all the elements of Star Wars and Empire, and you sort of hashed them together to make a film that had the same sort of peaks and troughs of A New Hope, and that sort of, we all got hooked on that, because when you watched The Force Awakens, you really got that sort of A New Hope vibe. You got really excited about it because it had that sort of, you know, X-wing battles, stormtroopers running from stormtroopers, fighting stormtroopers, all that sort of stuff. Just, you know, it sort of echoed A New Hope greatly.
So what would you have done differently?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Good God. Sorry.
I'd have used different... I don't know. I mean, I'd have looked at what Lucas had in his stories to begin with, or look at some of the great novels that have been written, like, you know, Heir to the Empire and all that sort of stuff, and maybe taken some sort of ideas from those and use those.
Well, BOE, imagine if you'd got Thrawn instead of what's his name?
Kylo Ren.
No.
Snoke.
Hux. Hux for me is possibly the worst character in the whole 3 of the films. He's just not like, you're supposed to be sort of intimidated by these sort of Imperials, aren't you? And he's just a joke all the way through. It's just a complete joke.
Well, I think they made a joke out of him in the second one, didn't they? In The Last Jedi, you didn't really see. I mean,
but even his like sort of like Nazi speech in the first one, it just wasn't. It didn't nail it for me. Like, it wasn't believable that this guy, he looked a bit wimpy. Do you know what I mean? It's like there was nothing sort of menacing about him. You know, he can shout and scream all he likes at a crowd of stormtroopers, but for me, it just didn't hit home. The thing is about The Force Awakens is that I got really excited about it, like most people did, and I came out the cinema sort of buzzing a little bit because I'd sort of watched something that had sort of got me off my seat a little bit. You know, it's exciting and what have you. The Rey character was interesting. Kylo Ren wasn't a bad looking sort of, you know, elements of Star Wars to him, so I wasn't sort of too worried about that. I did come out of it thinking, you know, a lot of it sort of had the same beats as A New Hope, and a bit of the other 2 films in there as well, certain aspects as well. But for me, and I continue to sort of like, you know, think it is okay until the next 2 came out, and it's the next 2 have actually affected my thoughts on the original. I just can't
Absolutely.
watch any of them now, even though, you know, it's a shame because Rey would have been a quite a good character if you'd sort of expanded on her in a decent way. But to make her a Palpatine or whatever, is just lazy, isn't it? Because they didn't know what else to do. And the biggest mistake, and I think everyone agrees with this, is that they just didn't have the overarching story for all three. Doesn't matter who the director is. These original trilogies had different directors, didn't they? Or at least two of them did, or whatever. So that doesn't matter. The director directs the story. They're still going off the storyboard. You know what I mean? And because that wasn't there, they just let them do what they want. And that's crazy if you think about it, with something as so important as Star Wars. And they've just spent £4 billion on this property. They could have completely ruined their investment. Luckily for them, they've got people like Filoni and stuff that know what they're doing, and the Mandalorian has saved them, hasn't it? The Mandalorian has saved Star Wars, basically.
Just imagine we hadn't had the Mandalorian now. God almighty. It's not worth thinking about, is it?
But yeah, I can't watch the new 3 anymore. I know there's people out there that like them, and that's fine, that's cool, but I can't watch them myself.
What about you? Okay. Anyone?
Well, I mean, it's like I don't even really want to talk about it. Really, I've done so much talking about it with my friends. With Daniel Chart in the chat there, and I've aired my issues with it. And not going to change. But the thing is, you can't change it, can you? You've got them. You're stuck with it.
No. But the whole purpose of this was it's not. I mean, we've got what we've got, and it wasn't to pan it. It was like, what would you have done differently, and how would you have changed it if it was you? If you would have done it,
I mean,
what would your headcanon have been?
I've been in and out of the room, but obviously the most important thing, and I did think about this recently, I did the review of that Star Speeder when I had Luke and Han sat next to each other. And actually in that review, I only shot it a couple of days ago. I started ranting about the sequels in that. I actually edited it down because I was swearing. I was F-bombing and stuff. I don't want to come across as aggressive or whatever, but they sat together and it got me thinking again about how the fact they missed that opportunity of having all of them together. Not
that was a big mistake.
Han and Luke. God, yeah, it's awful that. I mean, I know that they've got to have an arc and they've got to be characters have got to be at rock bottom and then they've got to get themselves out. But the fact is they started them at rock bottom like losers, like Han lost everything, didn't he? He's missed his, he's just utter trash. And then they could have had it so that they were I always imagined Luke would be a wise master, have an academy or something going on. He could have had some kind of problem, turmoil, something to get over, and then you resolve it at the end. But the fact that they just were pathetic and ended pathetically, it was crap.
So you liked it then?
But the thing was, they were trolling you through it as well, because like the thing with Chewie, it's like they've killed Luke.
Yeah.
Sorry, they've killed Han Solo, they've killed Luke, and then they pretend to kill Chewie. Like, it's because everyone was like, you can't kill Chewie in the third one. Please just do not do that. And they sort of pretended to do it, didn't they? Although you kind of realized straight away that it wasn't here in that ship. But, just things like that. It's just like, get your act together. Like,
So what about The Last Jedi then? What would you have done to change that? So if you had taken over from J.J. Abrams and you had to follow what was that film called, Force Awakens, what would you guys have done differently as opposed to what Rian Johnson did? Because he just went all over the shop, didn't he? He just took it off in a totally different.
And I don't want to defend him because I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he did, but it's quite funny that someone, I can't remember who it was, who said, but it made me sympathize with him a little bit. The fact that JJ did put Luke on that island. So he had to deal with that, didn't he? So really, JJ should have had, because like I remember in the cinema, I was like, when's Luke coming on? When's Luke coming on? And I was getting really anxious. I was like, come on, when's this going to happen? Where is he? And I was, I was so happy to see him at the end. And I thought, oh, wow, I can't wait to see the next one. But then we got this cowardly
froze.
You don't need Luke Skywalker. Terrible. Crap.
What about you? What about you, Tim?
Well, they just shouldn't have had him being this sort of person. there's no way that I could believe that he would like shun his friends and his sister. That's just, I don't care what he's been through, he just wouldn't do that, because he's the most optimistic person and most family orientated fandom. His friends and his family mean everything to him, so he just wouldn't do that no matter what. Blames himself for this, that, and the other. Well, fix it then. You know what I mean? Don't just go to and throw the lightsaber away. That, for me, that just wasn't believable. I remember being in the cinema, and when he did it, I looked at my brother, who's not a massive Star Wars fan, and he was looking at me going, "What?" I was like, well, if he's
that's what I did. That's what I did to my. That's so funny, Tim. Me and my mate. I've never taken my eye off the screen in the cinema, and I looked at him. I said, "What is this, a joke?" That's mad that you had the same experience as me. Then that's crazy, man.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did, mate. I think.
Yeah.
So
I didn't mind him just very quickly.
The whole Luke arc just is wrong.
But having said that, in the Force Awakens, in my head canon, I thought I accepted it. I thought, why that he's on an island because he's choosing the patient option. He's regrouping. He's walked away from it all. He's just assessing it, training, taking his time. But that's not how it appeared in the next one, though, is it? He was just, as you said, Tim, walked away from everything, which was the last thing I expected. Like,
he was
on it.
He was damaged goods.
He was damaged goods. But so do you think then, because of the Force Awakens getting so much like pannings that it was like too much like Star Wars and it was too much like A New Hope and stuff like that, and it was basically a modern day version of A New Hope, do you think Rian Johnson's coming and gone, well, they're complaining because it's too much like Star Wars?
That's not true. That's not true, because I know they were filming loads of The Last Jedi before it even premiered. I'm sure they had. That film, The Director and the Jedi, which is a really good documentary. It's about the making of The Last Jedi. I'm pretty sure they were on Act 2 filming for the next one, and it hadn't even premiered yet. So they had it all written.
Oh, wow.
Surely before. I mean, if I'm wrong here, please do correct me, someone in the chat.
Rian Johnson definitely asked himself the question, why is Luke on this island? Why is he there? And you're right, sort of like putting him on that island sort of forced him into, he just took the wrong option. He's, like you said, it should have been something like, I don't know, like, he's playing the waiting game, he's patient, he's building things up, might even be having like a training school on there or something. He realizes the threat's there, so he's like sort of regrouping like the rebels did. So he just went down a weird thing.
Rian Johnson wasn't reacting to any public thing because, I don't think, but he was, as you say, Tim, he was probably reacting to what he was given, like script wise. He probably thought, all right, okay, I've got to take this over, and I'll have to deal with that situation. Yeah, they come out so quick though, the films now. It used to be 3 years, didn't it? Between like the prequels were 3 years, and now it's like 2 years. It was 2 years. Yeah, quick.
So
should have slowed down. They should have, man.
Yeah.
So what about the Rise of Skywalker then?
Oh,
well, it was just a fix-it job on basically like what are we left with now, and also full of like little digs at the way Rian Johnson took it as well. You can't tell me that Luke's line about sort of not disrespecting the weapon isn't a dig at what came before it. I mean, to deny that is just like insulting everyone's intelligence, isn't it? So,
but then I guess you could have said you could have said the same thing about Rian Johnson with some of the lines that he gave Kylo Ren. Oh, you got to leave the past behind, kill it if you have to. So I mean, So, but what's
to the fans, isn't it? Sort of like
it looked very nice. Sorry, BOE, go on. Sorry.
A lot of that dialogue is, very au fait with people in American cities that are very leftist and want to tear the patriarchy down and destroy everything to rebuild a better society. Obviously, it doesn't happen, but this is what that sort of agenda is being pushed in Star Wars.
Are you talking about The Last Jedi here now? Because you get a lot of
I'm thinking about all three of them. All three of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stemming from Kathleen Kennedy, because she's, all this force is female. Also, the character of Rey being having, you know, totally being good at everything right away, whereas Luke had to struggle and fail.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
You
minded
know,
that had it been explained, but it wasn't really, was it? You know,
she
Oh,
No.
well, they took the easy way out. It's like, well, she's a Palpatine, so that's why.
yeah.
It's like, you know,
Someone
how else
there,
can I explain this? Oh my god, she was a Palpatine. And even Poe Dameron's line, isn't it, when he goes, somehow Palpatine is still alive or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
cloning,
Laughed
dark
out loud.
science, secrets only the Sith knew, and then that other fella from The Hobbit or whatever says that. Yeah, but I wouldn't have minded. You know, there was someone who thought that someone said at one point, I don't know who it was. They said that potentially Rey could have been. This is quite an interesting concept. I like this force remote controlled, almost like, you know, and she did that whole. She didn't know why she was doing it. Almost, you will remove these restraints and leave the cell door open. Like if somebody was tapping into her and helping her through the force, that would have made more sense. But that was never explored or what.
So the way I see the sequels, they should have started if they're going to do that, then yes, I mean, like with bring the Emperor back. So we know that he oversaw the cloning facility on Camino. So why did they not sort of like integrate that at the very beginning to say that yes, he may have died in Return of the Jedi, but he got himself cloned or something.
The writers aren't that good, I don't think, Stuart. Really,
it's just ridiculous.
Without wanting to sound,
isn't it? I mean,
it's true, isn't it?
I mean, I was happy to see him back. But I just thought you should have started with that. You should have led with that from the very beginning, not have Snoke. I mean, he was what a waste of time he was.
He could have been great, couldn't he? But no,
he could have been.
Happened, did it?
Could have been.
I mean, maybe in the first, you know, in The Force Awakens, Snoke was being set up to be the main villain, and then Ryan kills him off in part 8, and then JJ's left with who's he going to bring back in as the villain?
Yeah, that's exactly
that's what he's got to do. He's got to bring in back the Emperor.
Well, yeah, this is a headcanon discussion, Stuart. I forget that, but this was always my headcanon for Snoke, and I haven't done a video on this, and people are bound to have discussed it. People have always talked about Plagueis. I know that for sure. Everyone's talked about Snoke being Plagueis, but I never liked that because we all know Plagueis is a moon or whatever, whatever you call them.
Yeah.
But I always like the idea of Snoke being this Frankenstein because it's so hard to clone a Force user that they finally got it right. And that's why he looks so messed up. But they used a little bit of Sidious DNA, a little bit of they've somehow found Plagueis' DNA. That's why he's tall like a moon, human like an Anakin. I don't know, man. A mashup. That's what I thought would have been awesome. That's what he was, a clone. Sitting in Palpatine's throne, you know.
It's been a long time since I've read the Heir to the Empire. I don't know whether BOE can correct me on this, but I seem to remember it as something to do with like, you know, you got these various generals around, you know, that are in control of like whole fleets of Star Destroyers. You know, so the Empire, you know, when the Emperor dies on the Death Star and the Death Star's blown up, that doesn't automatically mean the end of the Empire. They've got pockets of them everywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't remember this part of it, but was it that he sort of like, you know, a lot of people didn't believe the rumors were true that he was dead, so they just carried on.
Yeah.
Doing, and maybe even this bit might be the bit that I'm sort of making up in my own head, but I seem to remember something about like, you know, recordings of his voice still telling people what to do and stuff like that. That might have been in a comic though, I think. But
that's on the video games as well, isn't it?
That would have been like something better, like, you know, just it doesn't have to be like this Emperor type character like they made Snoke out to be. Do you know what I mean? And then Rian Johnson thought he was a bit weak and wanted Kylo to be the main guy, so killed him off. And it's I just think they could have just, you know, if they'd sat and actually thought about it and used some of the sort of material that they had before, they could have done so much better job with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
but that's the thing with Snoke became pathetic as well. Obviously, I didn't actually mind that when Rian Johnson killed him off. I thought it was just a bit of a surprise, and I thought, oh well, maybe there's a reason for. But I just really wanted to find out who he was. But then when you found out all he was this like kind of puppet that was supposed to be there to push Kylo and make him darker or something, and then he was always going to kill him or test him or whatever and test his wit. And there was loads of them as well. I don't know, man. It was just he was given that Palpatine came back, he was totally needless, wasn't he, Snoke? Really?
Yeah.
Why haven't
Yeah.
it all? Yeah. Anyway.
Well, Kylo Ren was like, when he did that, he became, full on evil. But then the next film, he's turning back pretty quick, isn't he? Like you had Vader was like bad for 3 films and got redeemed at the very end. Whereas Kylo, he becomes full on evil at the end, or towards the end of the middle film, and then in the middle of the 3rd film, he's turning back again. So you know what I mean? He becomes Ben Solo again. It's just all, and that's another thing about that film, the Rise of Is it the Rise of Skywalker? Is that what the 3rd one's called? It just went 100 mile an hour. They had to pack so much in. I just couldn't keep up with it in cinema. I was like, this is like being on a roller coaster or something.
Yeah, there was way too much.
Yeah, it's hard watching, wasn't it, for sure.
I would have liked to have seen Slight Snoke. I know it's the old cliche of the villain dies in the very last one, but it would have been nice to have seen, because he seemed so powerful, didn't he, in that throne room? The way he just, with ease, just click of his finger, and Kylo's on the floor. You know what I mean? And zapped him with lightning. He could have been a totally badass villain and tough to kill, because there could have been actually potentially. I know you saw a jar of them all together, but he could have at least had another clone or 3 of them that had to be defeated or destroy the facility where they keep making him or something, but I don't know.
Yeah. So my overall impression from you guys is that you really enjoyed the sequels.
Yeah, I thought they were really, really good. Yeah, they were good, Stuart. Yeah. Really good. Not bad, man.
Okay, so we'll move on then. So what I've got now is a challenge, and I know we've just spent the last God knows how long bashing the sequels. All right, so for each of the films, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, I want you each to find one good thing that you liked about each film. One good thing.
Just like one
Who
tiny
wants to go
slice
first?
Like,
just one thing that you thought.
One of my
I like
this
that.
happened at the very beginning of the Force Awakens, and it had me invested in the film. I was really enjoying. I was rolling with it all, but I loved the bit when Kylo Ren stopped that blaster fire. Stopped it dead, and it was just. I loved that. I was just like, I'm so into this, man. I was loving it.
Okay, so well done. What about you, BOE?
I like the Stormtroopers, the new Stormtrooper outfits. I thought they were quite nice. The new helmets. Yeah. I like the ones in the Force Awakens rather than when they changed them a bit more in the other 2 movies. I didn't like those helmets as much.
Yeah. Tim?
I've just seen Delvian say the soundtrack there. That's a very good point. Soundtrack to Force Awakens is brilliant. Kylo Ren until he takes the helmet off, and I also don't mind BB-8. I think he's a good addition to the types of droids, and it's something that my kids loved BB-8 and what have you, and that's kind of what you need for Star Wars. Do you know what I mean? You need that sort of comedy aspect to it to just lighten things up a little bit. So he wasn't too bad. I didn't like the fact that R2-D2 was just off for the whole time.
Do you know what? It's funny you've mentioned that, Tim, because when he does take his helmet off, and I thought he looked better when he took his helmet off in Last Jedi. He looked a little bit more messed up, like Anakin looks messed up in Revenge of the Sith, but he looks like quite wimpy, doesn't he, in the other one? But also, why did he take it off at all? It's too soon. Should have been in the next movie.
That's my point.
I know what you mean.
It's not about what he looked like. It's about the fact that he took it off. In the first
place. It's funny they made that decision. It's almost like that subverts your expectations, because I didn't think you'd see what he looked like for
keep the mystery of it,
Yeah.
What about The Last Jedi then? One good thing in The Last Jedi that you liked.
I'll go first.
Go on then.
The R2-D2 Leia message was the best thing about the whole film.
Yes. R2-D2 Leia message. Oh yeah.
When he plays it, when Luke says that was a
cheap shot or a low shot or something like that.
I'm going to stick with what. Sorry, BOE, jumping in front of you, but I'm going to stick with what I said before. I really loved the throne room scenes because I was getting very awkward in that cinema. We were 15 minutes in, and I really did think that this was like a piss take. But then, honestly, and then when they came on the screen, I thought, right, okay, now It's feeling like a Star Wars film now. I loved all the Snoke things, and anything in that throne room was great.
Okay, BOE.
Yeah, that's my. I like the fight between the elite Praetorian guards. I know it was staged and choreographed a bit too much, but you know,
people have slowed it down, haven't they? So where's he going? Running away.
Daniel Chart's hilarious in the chat. I love him.
Where's he put now?
There was nothing good about any of those stories. Absolutely nothing. Look like Donald Duck. I knew he'd say that.
Oh yeah, Chewie eating pork, so that was good.
I was going to mention that before I even saw that comment. I knew he'd say that.
The Rise of Skywalker. One good thing about that. Oh no, this is difficult, guys.
The training of Leia and Luke was quite a nice moment when they were training together.
Yeah.
The bit on that planet before they get sucked into the hole to find what's his name, you know, that sort of reminded me a bit of Return of the Jedi. So
what you mean? Don't you mean the Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah, but those when those little ship things and the jump troopers are chasing them, that sort of
they fly now. You're not that.
I was just about to do that.
Come on, Jesus.
I mean, it's terrible, but you know, I'm thinking from the
You liked the festival, didn't you, BOE?
Yeah, it's just like carnival in London
in the desert.
Yeah, carnival.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just happened to bump into Lando as well. That was
yeah.
See, I mean, why wasn't he in it from the beginning?
Babu Frick, maybe.
Yeah, he was quite cool.
Oh, that little thing.
Yeah.
Well, if you've just seen the Mandalorian trailer, he's in that, isn't he?
He is. That Daniel Chart was he was not happy about that. He texted me before.
No.
I don't mind him. I thought he was quite sweet looking character, and don't like the film he's in, but I quite liked him.
Yeah.
Well, you get to see him again now. Right. Okay. So with that, then I've got some trivia questions for you guys. So.
Oh God.
Yeah. So you got your pen and paper? I bet you ain't got pen and paper.
What's the format, Stuart? What we're going to do here?
So basically, I'm going to ask you the first question. You've got 30 seconds to answer it, and then on a count of 3, you're all going to hold your answers up to the screen.
Right,
hang on a minute.
I've got to get my stopwatch going now.
You didn't tell me to bring a pen and paper.
Yeah, no, this is ridiculous.
No, here we go. I'll put it in the message, guys. Come on.
Did you?
Did.
I think I did.
Hopefully the pen works. Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Got a pencil here. Hang on. Yeah, all right.
And if you guys in the chat want to take part, then you're more than welcome.
I've got some labels here.
How many questions are there, Stuart? How much space do we need on this paper?
So basically, there's 6 questions, and the answers are all really short.
Date and title.
6. Bloody hell. 6. You don't need to put all that there. It's just a little bit of fun, mate.
All right, cool.
Date and title.
Right. Okay. So, was that you who said that?
No, he said it, and I repeated
it.
Right.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. So, first question then. What sector were Imperial ships detected in during the second Death Star battle?
Sector.
These are all the original trilogy and
oh, for God's sake!
Say that again, Stuart.
Trilogy questions.
Say that again, Stuart. Repeat the question, please.
Is it a number?
Question, Stuart.
What sector were It's a number, yeah. So, what sector were Imperial ships detected in during the second Death Star battle?
Is it Akbar says it, doesn't he?
I've got a line in Empire Strikes Back's confusing me here because he says there's a fleet of Star Destroyers and I'm not sector
Last
something.
Couple of
I'm not going to
seconds
say.
And stop.
I thought that's what you wanted to know, so I put the answer to that, which is going to be wrong, but I don't know. That's the only thing at time I can remember somebody talking
Akbar
about sector.
says it, doesn't he, in Return of the Jedi?
Okay, so let's look at your answers then.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in sector. Oh, I know what it is. I'm changing my answer. Yes.
He does, yeah. Oh no, he doesn't say it. I think
It's a trap. Before he says that, yeah.
Go on, then. Let's have a look at your
Show you
answers.
now. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I haven't got a clue.
So,
I think it's.
yeah, show us now, yeah. Oh,
I put
no
4
actual
before-
23.
I can't. Oh, check
23.
Is it
Yeah.
Sector
So
7, is it?
The answer is 47.
Oh,
47.
God.
47.
Yeah,
Shit.
that's the
Oh, I
answer.
was
Oh,
So
BOE,
Tim,
good
I was
man.
wrong.
I put
Not BOE.
4 before because in Empire Strikes Back he says there's a fleet of Star Destroyers in Sector 4. I'm sure he said, but anyway, so that's why I
Yeah,
put 4
well.
before as well. Anyway, oh well.
Yeah, no, it's 47 is the answer. Sector 47. That 47 to do. Right, second one.
Yeah.
Mm.
Brett,
Who
Brett on
tells
Fet is
Luke,
right that me
I
and
shall
Nick- me
enjoy
and Nick
watching
get
you
half
die?
points each. What's that?
Number 2.
What? Why'd you
What's
get half points each? Who's?
Because
Hang on
I
a
said
second.
4 and Nick
What's
said
this about
7.
half points?
Oh, half.
I said 4, Nick said 7, 47. Job done.
Yeah.
0.5 each.
Well, I'll
It's
take
not the right
that.
answer, though, is it?
Poor BOE.
Very true, my man. Very true.
Right. Second question. Second question. Who tells Luke, I
Okay.
shall enjoy watching you die? 30 seconds start now. Bosh.
That's easy. Done. Is Tim frozen or is he just confused?
Okay, so still. Just that's permanent look in his face.
I nearly did an impression then. but I'd
Okay,
be giving
last
it
10
away, wouldn't I?
seconds. Last 10 seconds. Hang
Great
on.
idea for a quiz. This.
Go. Right,
Right,
let's have a look at your answers.
You see that all right?
The Emperor.
He's just
Right.
changed it, man. That's disgusting. Did you see what Tim from Bossk's Bounty just did? He
No.
hadn't held his up.
I
and then
didn't. I
scribbled
see-
it down, man. That's absolutely
I-
outrageous.
No, because look, I had the Emperor and I had Jabba, and because you said
Oh.
because I was going to get accused of scrubbing it out, I wrote Jabba. on the
Oh,
new one, that's all.
Jabba. Forgot that. Damn.
Okay, yeah, it's
I had
it's
Emperor,
Jabba the
then I-
Hutt.
then I
I'm
scribbled it
sorry,
out.
I don't know
Oh,
what the
gosh.
audience think about this, but Tim from Bossk's Bounty did not show his answer, and he wrote it literally as me and BOE held it up.
No, well, before, I
That's
had my head down. I
disgusting.
had my head down.
That's bollocks.
Oh,
that is
dear.
absolute
I don't-
bollocks.
The audience can the audience can
That's
judge on that.
disgusting. Well, yeah,
Audience
that's just what
judge.
Stuart will say
Well,
about that. That's absolutely
I-
outrageous. That
You could
I
take
see
couldn't
him.
see
You're
I was
not
too
gonna be
busy trying
writing
to
it.
look at. I was too
you
busy
need to
trying
watch
to
the
look at your
screen,
writing,
Stuart.
Nick. I was
You're
like,
going to be. A...
well,
Oh,
I was.
no.
I was watching the
down
screen. I was
scribbling.
trying to watch you.
Watch it back.
I was watching
tomorrow
you. I
and
can't.
see
I
Tim
can't
cheating.
read
watch
your
it back.
writing.
You watch it back.
Got it a bit bigger.
Disgusting.
Right.
You see it? Oh my, that's outrageous. That's really triggered me.
Number
that.
3.
I've got to go. Man. Stay and win. I'll stay and win.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Okay.
Whose
Yeah.
shuttle had the code designation ST321? Go. Whose shuttle had the code designation ST321?
Okay.
There you go.
Hang on a minute. Well,
Yeah.
you'll. Well, there's a few seconds.
Ready?
So
Should we hold
you all
them
done?
up
Yeah.
with and then flip them at the same time? So I've got mine held up now. So I haven't got a pencil in my hand like
Okay.
Tim
So
did before.
right on
Right,
3.
ready?
1, 2, 3. Go.
Flip it.
Go. But what? I can't read yours. Bloody hell.
Command station. This is SD321.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the answer's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Balls.
Got one correct.
Right. Question 4. This. I mean,
I'm on-
you guys should get this. You should get this. If you don't, then
I won't.
Wow.
I won't.
Why?
Wait, okay.
Come on.
okay.
Go.
Okay. Well, question 4. Which rebel
Yeah.
pilot had a yellow checkerboard pattern on his helmet during the first Death Star battle? Go. You ready?
How
Yeah.
long does
Right,
it take you to
done.
write Biggs? then?
Okay. Right. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Always put the
Yes,
surname.
you'll get
Maybe
that
he
one
gets
right.
more
Well
points.
done. Awesome.
Maybe BOE wins that. You put the full name, full name and title.
Well, I'll take Biggs Dark Lighter. Right, number 5. What were C-3PO's first 2 words of greeting to Jabba the Hutt? Off we go.
Sorry, I think.
Could you say that again, Stuart? You glitched.
Sorry. What were C-3PO's first 2 words of greeting to Jabba the Hutt?
I know.
Oh man.
I can look at BOE scribbling as well. I love it.
No, I'm thinking.
Remember, please don't comment in the chat. Please don't.
Yeah,
comment.
hang on.
Oh, I can't believe it. People, look at that. Or are these are bogus? These are dodgy answers people are putting in the chat. This quiz is not for you. And people are giving answers to Tim, and I want to beat Tim at this. Come on.
You don't need to try.
Last 4 seconds.
I don't know how to spell the second word.
Shuttle.
Okay.
I'm just guessing.
I don't know.
You don't know how to spell. Okay. Right.
Have a taste,
1, 2,
my
3,
lord.
go.
Good morning.
Go.
I think he said good morning.
Go on, then, Nick. What did you put?
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning.
Have a taste, my lord. Good morning.
I thought it was greetings exalted one or something.
I put Almighty Jabba. Oh, forget it.
Right. Last question. Right. What level of the Death Star contained Princess Leia's detention block? Go.
Okay.
Oh my god.
This is great. I'm loving this.
They say it. Luke and Han say it, don't they?
Yeah, Luke says greetings exalted one, doesn't he? Greetings exalted one.
Yeah, no, I think no, but I'm saying on this question here, Luke and Han say that she's on. What floor did you say? Is that the question?
Yes. What level? Yeah.
Oh, what level?
Yeah. It's the same as the floor, isn't it?
Do you want numbers, Stuart?
Yeah,
or do you want
numbers,
anything else?
numbers,
Okay,
numbers.
I'll stick with me first answer then. I was going to change it.
And stop. Right.
Tim, can we see your paper?
On 3, 1, 2, 3, go. What have you put there, Nick? My bloody 23,
Can you not
14.
see me? 23. 23.
Oh, I can see that now.
It says AA 23.
No, you're all wrong. It was level 5.
Oh,
Level 5 detention block. Oh yeah, level 5 detention block AA 23. Yeah, all right,
Yeah.
okay. Bollocks.
Well, okay, so joint second, you've got Tim and BOE with 3 points, and winning this round was only one Kenobi with 5 points.
I said to him beforehand he'd win that. He's got a memory
So
like
you go to the top of the leaderboard. So there you are.
That?
I'm going to be. So when I do the next one, I'll have other guests on and stuff like that, and I'll be asking them questions as well. So you.
I thought we were going to have a music round there. I thought there was going to. That's
music
the
round.
end of round
Well,
1. Let's have the pictures round. Who is this?
Yeah.
Anyway, nice.
No,
Well done, boys.
I got.
Well done.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah. Thank you very much. That was a most enjoyable experience. I know the prequels and the sequels get quite a bit of bashing, but I thought it was quite well discussed tonight. So yeah, awesome.
You said before we're going to be talking about what we'd change, and it's not going to be a sequel bashing, and then we just bash the sequels.
You can't talk about
Well,
them.
you
Why
guys
not?
got so
Why
into
not?
it.
Why not? Why not?
I just sat here and I was like, well, they're talking. I'm
talk
like,
about it, haven't
yeah, but
It's good to bash.
well, if you want to, it's I guess so, yeah. But I mean, you kind of made amends with that challenge of trying to find one decent thing about the films, and I'm surprised that none of you put end credits and opening crawl.
Color.
And color.
If the sequel, if the sequel trilogy was a chess piece, they would be the bishop.
Right, so I know most guys know where they can find you and stuff like that, but if you want to just let us go, tell people where they can find you, Tim.
My home address is no, I'm joking. I love that.
Salacious Rom.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So, Colin, what media platforms can they find you on, Tim?
YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram really is my main places, I guess.
Oh, you sold yourself well there. Good job. Only one?
Yeah, YouTube.
The enthusiasm in your voice
Facebook.
there. Twitter, YouTube.
Yeah. Well, you know. At only one Kenobi. And then it's funny, also Instagram at only one Kenobi. But I was lucky to get that because some guy already had it. And then they deleted their thing. Even though I got all the others, someone had that. They had an inactive account, but that's gone now. So anyway.
And thank you, sir. BOE, where can they find you?
YouTube and Instagram.
Awesome. So if you guys didn't know that already, then where have you been? These three are absolute legends of YouTube. Very knowledgeable. Well, I thought they were until I saw these quiz results. But yeah. No, honestly, God, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Stuart, for having us.
Thanks.
I can't even see the time. It's been a while, so we'll call it a day now. But thanks for watching, guys, and we shall speak to you all soon. Cheers now.
Cheers for watching, people in the chat.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Ta-da.